How would you describe our externship? What do we do in our externship?
In your internship, you're learning about a vineyard, about an olive grove, and about Tuscan garden design. And I've already started most of these projects, but you guys are doing some of the finishing touches, and also you're really helping with the doing. As in the vineyard, for example, you'll be planting baby vines, small vines. You'll be setting them up so they can grow. You'll be doing cane pruning because some of the vines, like you know, are already growing crazily well, but there's too many, and they'll be blocking the wind. So you've already started that.
Right.
Later on, we're going to do leaf pruning, where we take a few leaves off of where the grapes, the clusters are, because we want the grapes to go red and we want them to be good for the wine. Then later on, probably in about next week, you're all going to get on the internet and you're going to help me decide what equipment I need to buy to actually make wine this year. Because I rented equipment before, so we're going to look up and do the research and see what's involved and will I have everything ready by the fall to be able to do that. So we're going to, for a month, really go into the vineyard and how you do it and why we're doing it and where we're getting the best grapes and how we can ensure that, and then how do we know we have everything we need to make the wine.
Right.
Okay. Then in the olive grove, we're going to do a little bit of the same. We're going to do some pruning of the olive trees to be sure that there is the maximum ability of olives to grow. And you know, at Corner, you've already started doing that with the pruning at the bottom, and weeding a little bit so that all the nutrients go to the tree and not around, you know.
Right.
And then we're going to do the funnel approach, so there's a lot of sunlight, and we're going to see how all that evolves. Then we're going to look at an olive crusher to be able to make olive oil at the end of the fall. So I expect you all back in October to make olive oil and wine.
Yes.
But anyway, okay. And then with the Tuscan gardening, classes before you started different projects on what they wanted and what they envisioned after they looked and saw what some Tuscan gardens were like. As you know, I've been to Italy many times, over a dozen times, looking at gardens, looking at vineyards, trying to, in some way, assimilate here what is there, because I like that whole kind of genre. So that's a long answer, but that's what you're going to be helping with.
Nice. Okay, next question. So how did you land your current role? So the examples they give is like college prep, college work, or just like any of that, etc. So I know it's kind of weird because most internships are kind of like offices or whatever, but how did you get into winemaking and Tuscan things?
Right. My family heritage is from Italy, and the family home is still over there in Pesaro. And the family home has vines, has olive trees,
Right.
and I'm in fact doing the mirroring image here. And I'm learning from people who have done this before. And you know what else? I'm learning a lot on the internet, on YouTube. So that's why I will be saying now, everybody look at this particular YouTube, because that's how we're going to do the olive trees. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's how I'm learning it. My past career included being Dean of Students of a university, so I know about internships and what they should accomplish. And so I'm also trying to give you guys values so that in the working environment, whether it be office or education or whatever, you'll have those values, and that's going to cause you to know more what the real working environment is like and also how you can be successful.
Right. Good answer. Okay. Did you have any mentors help you get where you are today, or what was their best advice to you?
I did have mentors. My background, my doctorate in counseling, I had psychologists and psychoanalysts mentoring me to become a good counselor. And then when I got into fundraising, I had some of really the nation's best as my mentor. He passed away about 6 months ago, but he was listed as number one. And he taught me a lot, and the creativity. But what I find is creativity, and when you're open to doing things, that can get transferred to any project, including a vineyard and Tuscan gardens. So that's how I'm hoping you're going to be benefited.
Would you say that that's the best advice they gave you? Or what would you say is the best advice they gave?
That no matter how difficult the job is, like I was telling you all, And no matter how hard you work on it, you need to realize there will be an end. It will be done. And even though you don't like the job, you stay with it because it's going to end. And the next one won't be as bad.
Okay, describe some highlights of your work, and then describe some of your greatest challenges. Some highlights and some challenges of your work.
Here at the vineyard?
Yes.
Well, the highlights, I think, was 2 years ago when we made our first wine. And the wine ended up having a perfect pH, purely by accident, again, following YouTube. But also, the wine was accredited by a leading hospital in La Jolla, a leading restaurant in La Jolla, that both the sommeliers said that it could be drank immediately. So we knew we were doing something right.
All right. Think back to 5 years ago. Did you envision this is where you would be?
With the vineyard?
Yes.
Yes, because I planted it 6 years ago in order for it to get to the point today in its 7th year where it's producing what it's producing. And actually, Colin, when you were down doing the olive trees today, those were planted 17 years ago because I knew I would want them to be tall enough to act as a windbreak for the vineyard. So yes, there's always planning ahead of time.
Describe the most important leadership lesson you have learned.
In life,
Yeah.
try to put the people that are working for you ahead of yourself. Okay? I did that. As a result, I was very successful in my career, and everyone except for one woman no longer are secretaries or administrative assistants. They're all directors of programs. And the one woman was elderly, and so she retired, so that's why she's done.
Yeah.
I think she's passed away by now. But if you put other people first, especially people who are working for you, if you start to think about their needs, you never have a problem on productivity. You never have problems of people skipping work or whatever, because it's a family thing then. You're in it together.
Describe the most valuable work characteristic for success in this career, or maybe just in general your career.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Describe the most valuable work characteristic for success in any career.
Creativity. When we're doing the projects here, especially the Tuscan design, my intent is to let you guys be creative. You know how I've said, okay, now what do you want to do here? Okay, do we want to do this or this? Because we're going to make it like you decide.
Right.
Because I want you all to exercise your creativity. The vineyards, that's one of those jobs that you just got to do and do and do and do. The creative element was designing the vineyard at the beginning. Now the creative element next, but you won't be here, is to make the wine, because you decide how much of each grape is in the wine.
Right.
See, but the Tuscan development of the gardens and the ruins that we're making and all, the Tuscan ruins, that's all creative. You're going to be putting down, for example, all these stone pieces we have and sculpture. You're going to be putting those down amongst the garden to see how that looks like. I want to see your creativity as it to cause you to break out. And employers and bosses, when they know they have an employee who's creative, it's 10 points ahead. You're the one then who's going to be pushed on to the next level. The person who's just doing the work to do the work and not have a creative element is kind of going to always maybe stay there.
Shelly, you want to answer your one?
Yeah, do you want to ask one? The last one.
Ayla?
What advice would you give me, a student, to get to where you are now?
Stick with it. It kind of relates to the other thing about no matter how hard it is, stick with it. Two things. Stick with it and always realize that you can go farther than anyone thinks you can. Okay? You really can. Any limitations, any way you stop will because you've put the limitations on yourself. If you stick with something and you believe you can do it and you go do it, you may only get it half done, but that's further ahead than where you were. You know? So I'd say stick with projects, don't let them die. You showed it today, Cole, in your corner. When you were doing those trees, you weren't even coming up for lunch because you wanted to finish that tree. That's admirable. You were sticking with it because you wanted it to be done and you wanted it to look at a different way, and you were showing your creativity on how you did it. See what I mean? That's perfection. That's what you want to do in everything you all do. And you guys have done it too at times, but I'm not going to get interviewed again, I don't think. Oh, thank you. Is that good?
Yes.